Okay, good morning. Joining me today are my Chief Counsel, Catherine Diaz, our Deputy Controller for Audit, Marjorie Landa, and our Assistant Controller for Management Audit, Edward Carey. This morning, I am releasing an audit that found the Department of Education failed to adopt proper safeguards and controls in awarding contracts to companies distributing milk in our city. These lack of controls led the city to ignore red flags of possible collusion among bidders and may well have resulted in inflated costs to the city. Our students and taxpayers deserve better. Every dollar the city overpays for milk is one less dollar available to support healthy school meals. In light of these disturbing findings, this matter was referred to the United States Department of Justice's Antitrust Division. Let me give you some context about the scope of what we're talking about today. The DOE serves more meals than any other U.S. government entity outside of the Department of Defense. It adds up to some 850,000 meals each day. Saving just 1 penny on the cost of each meal adds up to big-time savings for taxpayers, around $1.5 million per year. Given these costs, it's clear why competitive bidding on these contracts is so important. Our audit looked at 3 contracts totaling $134 million to supply and deliver milk to city schools from November 2008 to August 2013. The 3 winning vendors were Bayer Farms, Elmhurst Dairy, and Bartlett Dairy. As you see in this first graph, the largest contract went to Bayer Farms, which won 77% of the deliveries. Elmhurst Dairy won 17%, and Bartlett had 6%. But in what now appears to be a classic bait and switch, Bayer and Elmhurst almost immediately subcontracted the lion's share of the work to their former competitor, Bartlett. All of a sudden, Bartlett was in the driver's seat, jumping from 6% of the action to a commanding 69% share. Let me show you what this looks like from a geographic perspective. Can we put the slide up? We went from this to this, all before the first carton of milk had even been delivered. What you see here is 3 winning bidders who began as competitors and then remarkably became partners within 2 months. Now, keep in mind that our friend Elmhurst did not exactly lose out either. Throughout this process, Elmhurst continued to supply and process milk for its former competitors. In addition, Bayer and Elmhurst failed to disclose any plans to subcontract their work in advance, even though the RFB required them to do so. Think about that. The RFB required them to disclose any plans to subcontract. As a result of this private business deal, the percentage of schools to which Bartlett delivered milk soared tenfold. Again, all of this happened before the first carton of milk was delivered to any school. Subcontracting of this magnitude does not occur overnight. It is outrageous. It also raised red flags of possible collusion that cried out for scrutiny. But DOE never took the time to look under the hood and examine what was really going on. Even before the bait and switch, our auditors found connections between several of the bidders that should have set off major alarms. 3 bidders reported that they would all use Elmhurst as their milk processor. Bidders had various financial obligations to each other. An individual was connected to 2 bidders at the time of their submissions to the city. 2 of the bidders had prior convictions of price fixing related to milk distribution in the 1980s. All of these warning signs should have raised concerns at DOE about collusion. Now, why does this matter? Because true competition drives down costs. Collusion is unlawful. One of its hallmarks is that bidders only appear to be competing with each other. Without competition, it is impossible to know if taxpayers are getting the best deal. Our auditors also found that DOE failed to adequately assess the financial health of the bidders. Proper analysis of Bayer's financial statements would have shown a high risk of money troubles down the line. Instead, the only evidence provided by DOE of their due diligence was a page of notes written by an analyst whose concerns were improperly ignored by higher-ups. Literally, this is the entire financial analysis DOE provided to auditors to support its decision to hire buyer. I'll read it to you. Everything, the whole company and equipment, appears to be on margin. It goes on. What measures have you, buyer, taken to ensure survival should the credit line's loans get called back by the lenders? The DOE claimed that its team lacked the expertise necessary to provide a full picture of buyers' financial health. However, much of the information they needed was readily available. Take a look at this chart. The red lines on this graph show buyers' debts had soared in recent years compared to his assets shown here in blue. Instead of flagging these problems, the DOE doubled down. In the end, buyer went bankrupt in 2012, leaving the DOE scrambling for a replacement. The DOE has to do a better job, and there's no time to waste. Right now, the agency is in the process of procuring new milk contracts. We cannot allow these kinds of weak procurement practices to continue. Now, I'm pleased to say that as a result of this audit, DOE has agreed to enhance their procedures to assess the financial health of the lowest bidders for all contracts. I can assure you that my office will be examining this contract closely when it comes to our office for review. Our auditors have now recommended the following. DOE should develop and implement adequate written procedures to detect the warning signs of possible collusion. The agency should put written procedures in place to identify and flag troubling bidders before it's too late. And DOE should develop and implement procedures to ensure that a comprehensive analysis of the financial capacity of low bidders is conducted prior to any contract award. For the sake of our children and the integrity of our bidding process, DOE should implement these recommendations as soon as possible.